"Feed him first before you arrest me," she cried. What 220 Hell's Angels did shocked everyone. The sirens arrived before the dust had even settled, slicing through the quiet of the small town street like knives through thin glass. And in the middle of it all stood a trembling woman clutching a small boy who looked like he hadn't eaten in days. Her voice broke the air with a kind of desperation that didn't sound human anymore, something raw and pleading that came from bone-deep fear and mother's love. She wasn't begging for mercy for herself. She wasn't fighting the cuffs fastened around her wrists. All she said, with tears carving rivers across her dirty face, was that one sentence that would echo in every heart that heard it. "Feed him first before you arrest me." Those words hung there like smoke as the line of engines growled in the distance. And what happened next would challenge every stereotype anyone had ever believed. If you believe kindness and second chances still exist in this world, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep telling stories that remind us of our humanity. Her name was Mara, and life had not just been hard on her, it had been relentless. She had once worked 2 jobs, sleeping in bus stations so her little boy could have the bed when they still had a small room to call home. Then the factory shut down, the landlord stopped waiting, and the world offered nothing but locked doors and cold stares. She had made mistakes, some born of exhaustion, some born of panic. And today those mistakes had followed her down a long stretch of highway where she tried to outrun hunger. The boy, Levi, hadn't eaten in more than a day. When the officers finally cornered her near an abandoned gas station, she stopped running. She stopped fighting. She simply turned, shoulders sagging, clutching Levi close, and made that one heartbreaking request. The officers were shocked, not because they had never seen poverty, but because of the way her eyes never once asked for herself. Procedure had to continue. Handcuffs still clicked shut, but there was no pride in it, no triumph, only the weight of something that felt deeply wrong. They radioed for backup in social services while the boy's head slowly drooped, his face pale, lips cracked, and his mother's heart cracked alongside them. And then, like thunder rolling across the plain, came the sound, a chorus of engines, 220 bikes cresting the road in a single roaring wave. They were the Hell's Angels, or at least that's what the patches said, the kind of sight that made strangers cross the street and shutter store windows. Leather vests, tattoos, weathered faces, the smell of road and oil and long miles. They looked like trouble itself had arrived on 2 wheels. The cops stiffened. The townspeople watched from behind curtains, and Mara lowered her eyes, certain this day could not get worse. But life has a strange way of revealing the truth about people when we least expect it. What the world saw in black and white suddenly began to turn human. The leader dismounted slowly, not saying a word, and looked at the child before he looked at anyone else. These men and women, rough edges and all, had lived their own wars, lost friends, buried family, and carried regrets like heavy chains. What they saw in Levi was not a criminal's child, not a burden, but a reflection of themselves at some forgotten time when they too had been small and scared and ignored. Without speeches, without drama, they began to move with unexpected purpose. One pulled off his gloves and reached into his saddlebag. Another walked into the empty station knowing somewhere there was a vending machine that might still have something left inside. Yet another sprinted toward a nearby diner, cash already in his hand. This wasn't charity meant to be seen, this was instinct. Food appeared. Sandwiches, fruit, bottled. Water, warm soup from the diner the cook insisted they take without charge. Someone found a blanket. Another pulled out a small teddy bear from a pack, meant for a niece they'd been planning to visit. Levi hesitated, glancing at the officers as if needing permission, and with a careful nod, they let him eat. The first bite made him cry, and then the tears turned to quiet relief, the kind that drains out of a child's exhausted heart. Mara watched, helpless, cuffed, ashamed, and yet overwhelmed by gratitude that came in waves so strong she could barely breathe. She had expected judgment. She had braced for cruelty. Instead, she saw strangers become guardians, if only for one fragile moment. The officers, to their own surprise, felt something shift as well. They weren't the enemy, they were doing their job, but now the job looked different when compassion filled the spaces policy usually lived in. They slowed down, they listened, they asked questions they hadn't planned to ask: what had led her here, what support she had, what resources might still be available. The Hells Angels didn't try to interrupt, didn't posture or demand. They simply stayed, forming a quiet circle of presence, a shield of sorts that said without words that this woman wasn't alone anymore. At least not today. As Levi finished the meal and finally smiled, something softer passed through the crowd. People from nearby houses stepped outside with cautious curiosity, some bringing more food, some offering jackets, some standing with hands pressed to their chests because witnessing compassion can feel like a blow and a blessing at the same time. Mara, tears flowing again, whispered apologies that no one demanded and promises to do better that she wasn't sure she could keep. Yet the air carried a different energy now. Not pity, but possibility. It was as if the world collectively remembered that people are rarely only the worst thing they have ever done. The officers worked out a plan that followed the law, but honored the moment. Arrangements for temporary care were made. A social worker was called. Mara would still face consequences, but they were framed in support rather than condemnation, and Levi would not go hungry again that night. Before they left, the bikers loaded groceries into the trunk of the patrol car with a quiet insistence, slipped money to the diner, and nodded to the mother whose eyes now held something that looked like fragile hope. They didn't stay for thanks. Engines roared once more, and the long line vanished down the road like a storm clearing, leaving behind silence, full bellies, and a completely different story than anyone expected to tell. By the time dusk settled, the town had changed in a way that statistics could never measure. People spoke in hushed voices about what they saw, not about criminals or saints, but about how complicated and surprising human beings can be when given a chance to act from the heart. And as Mara sat beside her sleeping boy, later that evening, under a roof not entirely her own, but safe for the night, she closed her eyes and realized something she had forgotten long ago. Sometimes help comes from the most unlikely places, and sometimes grace rides in on two wheels with no explanation at all. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs to believe in goodness again, and subscribe so more people can hear stories that remind us we're capable of compassion. Before we end, tell us in the comments what part of this story stayed with you the most. And as the night swallowed the last light, the lingering echo of those words, "Feed him first before you arrest me," didn't fade. It settled into every person who heard them, a quiet promise that as long as we keep seeing one another's humanity, there is always room for redemption, kindness, and unexpected heroes.